I'm going to be doing today, what we're going to be doing is making some kale chips, which I've never made before, as well as making some butternut squash fries, which I've also never made before. I do make sweet potato fries sometimes, and I think they're kind of similar, but I'm going for kind of like a crunchy look this time, so we shall see how it pans out. So, kind of just got a bunch of kale right now that I've broken apart and ripped up, and I'm going to grab a bowl to pour it in, and actually I lied. I just read a tip that you should blow dry. Yeah, like with a hair blow dryer, blow dry your kale to try and get like as much moisture out of it as possible. So I'm going to go grab my blow dryer, and then I'm going to start blow drying my kale. So we shall see how this works. So yeah, I'm just trying to, I might actually make 2 pans of these because this does not look like very much, but we'll blow dry it first. We're just going to put it on low. Alright, so after you have successfully blow dried your kale, you're going to add about a tablespoon of olive oil, depending on how much kale you have, and then you're going to massage it into the kale. So I'll kind of just show you. And I am not I'm getting better at cooking, but especially when I started cooking, I was not the most proficient of cooks. So I kind of am an obsessive measure, or at least when I make things for the first time. So it's okay if you need to measure out things. I know a lot of people are they cook by their instincts, and especially if you're young and haven't done a lot of cooking, you may not necessarily have those instincts yet, so it's okay to follow the recipe. But I would definitely recommend, smelling things, tasting things, figuring out, what you like. I tend to be an under-seasoner. I'm learning how to season because I was always afraid to over-season things. But I've kind of learned, for the most part, it's better to under-season than over-season things. Or it's better to over-season than under-season things because people do not like bland food, So what I'm just doing is trying to massage the oil into the kale so that when I put on my spices next, they will kind of stick to the kale and help the kale get nice and crispy, especially where it ripples up and things like that. So just kind of give the kale a good massage. Alright, I feel like that's pretty good. Because I told you all, I live at my boyfriend's house. I carry most of my spices in baggies because I go back and forth between his house, and some of the spices he has and some of them he doesn't. And if you're super awesome, my Himalayan sea salt spilled all over my bag, but that is why I put them in baggies. So I'm just going to put a bunch of Himalayan salt in this, which will also help them crisp up. Sprinkle some salt over them, and then some ground cumin. This is definitely one of my favorite spices right now, is ground cumin. I put it on pretty much everything, if I'm totally honest with you. I put it on my veggies, put it on my meat. I love ground cumin. And then paprika. Paprika gives everything a kind of just a light taste. It's nice and red. Give it some color. And then let's be honest now, we like things real spicy. So I'm also gonna add some cayenne pepper to that mix, and then I'll mix it up, and I might add some chili pepper too. Like I said, we like things really, really spicy in our house. Real spicy. And the other thing you want to make sure is that you don't have specific pieces of kale that are just like saturated in seasoning, and then like other pieces that have no seasoning. So you just kind of want to like mix them up, and then also like help like massage the seasoning onto different pieces of kale, which is kind of what I'm doing now, is trying to make sure that they all have some seasoning on them. And definitely some of them look really good and some of them are kind of lacking. It's a little hard to tell though because they're all so dark. I might just add a little bit more of the salt, a little bit more of the cayenne, and a dash more of the cumin. Just make sure that everything gets kind of a nice, good coat to it. And that no kale is getting left behind, right? We wouldn't want that. That would be tragic. Now that that's done, we're just gonna lay them all out on the pan, and then we're gonna cook them at 300 degrees Fahrenheit for like 10 minutes, and then rotate the tray. And when you put them down, you're just gonna want to make sure that they like have enough room for the air to kind of get around all of them. So it's okay if they're touching a little bit, but you kind of want them spread out. And then yeah, I'll show you what they look like when they're done. Alright, so next thing up on the docket is our sweet potato. They are butternut squash fries. So I'm kind of doing it how you would do maybe like a regular fry or a sweet potato fry. So I cut up my butternut squash into stick-like pieces and have been soaking it for a couple hours now. You probably only need to soak it for like a half hour. But next I'm going to drain it and put it in a tea towel and get it as dry as possible. Alright, so I have a tea towel here. Promise it's clean. It's just old. And I also have a plastic baggie, some almond flour, wherever I put that, some almond flour, as well as a bunch of different seasonings. So I have, again, the Himalayan sea salt, some cumin, probably some chili, maybe some garlic. And so basically what I'm going to do is dry them off really well, and then I'm going to put them in this bag with some almond flour and shake them up, and then we'll coat them with some olive oil and sprinkle them with their seasoning. So first things first is to just get them nice and dry. And I'm kind of doing this while I'm cooking the kale chips, just because last time I tried this method with sweet potato fries, I didn't dry them enough, so the flour didn't really stick to them and they didn't get crunchy the way that I wanted them to. Yes, this is a lot of French fries. I have a problem called I just cut up entire vegetables and fruits in one go, because otherwise they go to waste. And for the most part, my boyfriend and I are pretty good about eating them if they're pre-cooked. The problem is like when they're not cooked or not cut up. And then of course I feel like everybody has this problem. When they're not cooked, when they're not cut, you just like don't get around to them. So I am pretty big into like, as soon as I buy things, as soon as I get things, cutting them all up. And so yeah, I'm just gonna dry these as best I can and try and get them really nice and dry this time. I think the philosophy, I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me on this, but I think the philosophy behind getting them wet or putting them in water, letting them soak, is to get some of the like starch out of them. I feel like that's what I've read or heard before, but again, I don't entirely know, and I guess I don't really know if like squash is starchy. But either way, we're gonna give it a go, because why not? Also, if you buy spaghetti squash and you have any tips on how to peel it, that'd be great, because this was kind of a beast to try and peel. I may or may not have almost cut myself. Not that that's outside of the ordinary. Hello, avocados. You know that whole avocado injury thing? Yeah, welcome to me. And I watched how to properly cut an avocado, and they just don't always cooperate with you. Like, even when you are cutting them with like the proper technique, I swear on all that is holy, I cannot get pits out to save my life. Like, they just don't go. But anyways, so I'm just gonna keep massaging these, and then I will be back. So I'm gonna put cinnamon in this. Cinnamon is fantastic for you. It's what's known as like a superfood. So like, I don't really like, so I'm gonna be totally honest with you, I don't really like, what did I even put in here yet? I don't really like sweet potatoes when they're sweet. Like, I eat my sweet potatoes really savory. I do not like them sweet. So far I just put in cumin, cinnamon, this pink Himalayan salt, paprika, and now I'm going to put in some chili powder. Just give these babies a little kick. Get them nice and spicy. Then I'm just going to give these a toss. Get these spices all nice and mixed up on these babies. Alright, and like I said before, I've never made these, so I can't promise that they're going to turn out good. I can't even promise that I'm going to eat them, but I figured I'd give it a go. I love sweet potato fries. I eat them a lot. And then I'm just going to spread them out on a tray and do the exact same thing to the other half. So I'll show you what those look like when they're done. And then here is what those kale chips look like. They're just drying right now. They probably need about 10 to 15 minutes to dry before I put them away in an airtight, and they're really crispy. Like, they're very crispy. They might not look crispy yet, but they're very crispy. So I will be interested to taste those. Alright, so I totally lied to you. I decided to make them two different ways. So this one, I pre-seasoned it, so it's already got the seasoning on it. And then this one, I just put the almond flour and the olive oil on it, and I'm going to season them after they're done. Because I just want to see if they turn out different. They look kind of like, because of the flour and the oil, it kind of like glooped on. So I'm just curious like how they're going to turn out different. By the way, those kale chips were super awesome. I kind of am thinking about making another batch because, well, I only had one, but I could eat them all in probably one sitting. Yay for kale though, right? Not real chips? Anyways, I'll let you know how these turn out. Alright guys, and the first batch is out. These are the ones that I seasoned afterwards. They were on the bottom shelf and they were a little bit close to like the heat source, but you know what? I actually think that they turned out a lot better. I ended up putting the other ones back in just to try and crisp them up a little bit more. I mean, I don't know, they're not super crispy. That's hard to do. But I think that they are pretty darn good. I'm actually pleasantly surprised. They do taste a lot like sweet potato fries, but they have just a little bit of a different taste. And I think the cinnamon really adds something to them, especially with like the spiciness. I would definitely recommend these. I put mine in, my oven runs really hot, so I put it in at 400 for like 20 minutes, flipped them over to the best of my ability, and then put them back in for about 15 minutes, checked them, put them back in for about another 5 minutes after that or so. And yeah, so I would definitely recommend 425 if your oven doesn't run hot. That's what the recommended was, but like I said, I know my oven runs really hot, so I always turn everything down just a little bit. But yeah, let me know what you think if you tried it, and let me know if you want any more recipes or things like that. Alright, well, thanks so much for watching my video. Like, subscribe, drop me a comment if you so please. Let me know what you think, if you want some more home cooking or anything else. Otherwise, have a great day. Bye.